Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Video berikut adalah video untuk makalah yang berjudul The Realization of Linguistic Politeness in Lecturers' Feedback yang akan disajikan pada sesi paralel Konferensi Linguistik Tahunan Atmajaya atau KOLITA yang ke-18 yang diselenggarakan secara daring. Penyaji makalah ini adalah Profesor Dr. Sri Minda Murni, MS dari Universitas Negeri Medan, dan Nena Syahrani Syahaf Nasution, SPD dari universitas yang sama. Introduction. Teachers' feedback is information given by teachers to learners dealing with their performances. Teachers' feedback mostly refers to the instructional goals or learning goals, and as we observe, teachers' feedback can be motivating as well as discouraging. Now, linguistic politeness. Linguistic politeness is face-saving act by using language. To be polite, speakers empower linguistic devices to mitigate the potential threat of the utterances. The opposite of face-saving act is face-threatening act. Previous researches on linguistic politeness. As we observe from previous researches, the typology introduced by House and Casper is not as popular as Brown and Levinson. House and Casper is assumed to be more relevant to use in the study of linguistic politeness in classroom interaction due to the established lecturers-students relationship in terms of power and distance. Students of the university do not realize that they actually use politeness strategies during group discussion. This statement is found in Miladesia 2019. Does it imply that academic forum is naturally polite? A study on linguistic politeness used in lecturers' feedback will add new knowledge on the use of politeness in academic forum. There are 10 linguistic expressions or linguistic devices used to express politeness as suggested by House and Casper in their typology. They are politeness marker, playdowns, consultative devices, hedges, understaters, committers, forewarning, hesitators, scope status, and agent avoiders. This 10 typology is added by Edmondson, also in the same book, which is Watts. They are cajolers, appealers, steer, grounder, and preparators. Method. This is a descriptive qualitative research. Data were collected through non-participant observation, through documentation and recording technique. The subject of the research were 2 English department lecturers of Unimed. During their student presentation, the feedback were taken and each lecturers were observed in 3 classes they had. Results and discussion. This is the result of the research. As we can see that 8 linguistic politeness is used to realize the politeness strategy. They are appealers, cajolers, politeness markers, downtoners, preparators, committers, hedges, and understaters, with the number of data collected and the percentage. So from the table, we can see that the dominant strategy used is appealers. Both appealers and cajolers make up more than half of the strategies used, which is 56.5%. And both politeness markers and down toners cover 25.5% of the strategies used. The least strategy used is understatus. This is an example of appealers use. The appealers is aimed at eliciting some hearer's confirmation. This is the data. There is an opening in presentation, isn't it? What is missing? What is it? Addressing, right? Addressing people, right? Isn't it? The linguistic device used here are, isn't it, 2 times, and right, 2 times. This is actually confirming the hearers. In Indonesian it means iya kan? The other 2 appealers beside isn't it right is okay? Yeah. Now we can detect the face work here, which is the effort of the speakers to be polite if we delete the isn't it part. So compare with the clause there is an opening in presentation with there is an opening in presentation, isn't it? Okay, the second data, the second category is cajolers. Cajolers means to persuade. The example is, I would like to comment on yours. Could you please show your first slide? Yes. I mean, comparing you doesn't mean blaming you. No, this is for the sake of your improvement. The linguistic device here is I mean. It is to persuade or to ensure the hearer's perception is in parallel with the speaker's intention. You can detect the linguistic device or the linguistic effort if you compare with clause without I mean, such as comparing you doesn't mean blaming you. The next category is politeness marker. Could you please show directly the result? The linguistic device used here is please. Compare this clause with another clause where you do not find please. Can you show directly the result? So it is as a proof that the additional please in the clause it means to be polite. Next, down toner. Down toner is to modulate the effect, and then play down is to decrease the effect. From the clause, we can see the use of the 2 strategies. Okay, probably later you could make the presentation by showing each aspect that was done by the teacher and which are not. The linguistic device used here is probably and could. Probably is down toner and could is play downs. And now understatus. It is aimed at lowering the content of the proposition. Let's look at the data. I like it, although there's a little bit problem with your PowerPoint, but the way you respond to the question is really good. The linguistic device used is a little bit. So instead of saying there's a problem with your PowerPoint, the lecturer chooses to use there's a little bit problem with your PowerPoint. So ladies and gentlemen, now the discussion. Conclusion and discussion. There are 8 different strategies I use in the feedback. Both appealers and cajolers make up more than half of the strategies used, which is 56.5%. Politeness markers and down toners cover 25.5% of the strategies used. The least strategy used is understated. What does it mean? It means that the lecturers show pragmatic competence in expressing politeness in giving feedback. They are also good models in speaking politely in English. And then they are more motivating rather than discouraging. Now, the dominant use of appealers in the lecturer's feedback implies that linguistic politeness is mostly aimed at ensuring the students can see what the lecturers can see in the concept being learned. And the dominant use of both appealers and cajolers implies that the lecturers do not perceive themselves as powerful figures and demanding some kind of distance from the students. Feedback is aimed at helping students achieve the goals of the instruction. As the consequence, the potential threat of the feedback is very small. In another word, no big effort is necessary and no complicated phasework needed in giving feedback. Mutual understanding between lecturers and students dealing with the feedback given is the basic foundation of the politeness here. That's all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the session. Billahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.